Okay, let's jump back to the directory for our color module. We have preview.js. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. This file typically will contain code that executes first when the theme settings page loads initially, and secondly, whenever one of the color selectors changes in order to update the preview. Mostly what's happening in this file is that the colors that are being selected in the select boxes are being transferred over to the preview. But there's also a couple other things going on. So let's just look at this line by line. It's not too long. First, we have our wrapper for the function to encapsulate it. Now, if you're not sure what this is or why this looks a particular way, you can take a look at the jQuery videos, which will describe this structure a little bit. And next, we're creating an object called Drupal color. So it's color inside of the Drupal object, and we're setting logo change to false to begin with, and then we're setting a callback. And if we scroll down, we'll see that the rest of this code is actually within that callback. And this is the callback that occurs whenever the page is loaded initially for the theme settings and whenever a color changes. It's getting passed several different variables. It begins by checking to see if we've uploaded a custom logo, if we're setting a custom logo path. And if so, it's going to replace the default logo that's set in the CSS with the new logo that we saved in that include file at the top when we added the Drupal.js. That was the setting that we're pulling in here. And then if the logo has been toggled off, then we want to make sure it doesn't display in that preview, so we're going to remove it. And then we get to a statement that we're going to see repeated throughout this file. The first step is creating a selector, looking for the particular item that we want to change the color of. And then we're going to set a particular property of the CSS for this item. So we're looking for preview, which, if you remember from looking at the HTML file, is the ID of the div that wraps around everything. And we're going to set the background color for this particular element. And the next part is finding that color that we want to pull into it. And we're looking in palette, the ID palette, and inside of that we're looking for an input with the name palette, BG, background. So this is one item in the array, in the palette array, that we're going to pull in. And once we've made that selection, we're going to pull the value out of it using the val jQuery statement and assign that to the background color, which will then get pulled into the preview element. And if you look down here, we're looking at one more structure that's the same structure, but dealing with different elements and a different property. For this one, we're looking at the heading to tag inside of preview main, inside of preview, and preview content inside of preview. And we're setting the color attribute this time. And then we're pulling the text item inside of the palette inputs to assign to that. And then you see that repeated here for a different element set. Same thing here, again here. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. And then we have some unique stuff. We're looking at creating a gradient. And so what we're doing is pulling the first gradient color and the second gradient color using the same type of code that we did above. And then we're again setting a CSS attribute, except this one has to be a bit more complex because we're dealing with a gradient. So you see here that we're taking preview header, and we're setting the style attribute to background color, and we're setting the gradient start color. We're doing several different formats of this, so it will work for WebKit and also for Mozilla, and then assigning that to this set of elements. Down here again, we're just setting a CSS property for this set of elements, and we're pulling the title slogan from the palette for this. Now you may remember these items from the color.inc file. Title slogan, we have top, bottom, footer, side borders, and so on. All of these were listed inside of that, and I'm going to jump to that file now, color.inc, right up here. And if I scroll up to the top, you'll see these listed right here. BG, link, top, bottom, title, slogan, sidebar, borders. So these are all assigned to the input names inside of our palette selection on our theme settings page. So if we jump to our settings page in our browser and we open up Firebug, in order to inspect these elements, we'll find out that each one of them has the name that we are assigning inside of our JavaScript file. So I'm going to go ahead and inspect this element. And you see here down at the bottom that the name of this input is palette BG. So if you're curious where all of this information is coming from, it's getting passed from that inc file through the color module, and then that's getting assigned to the name value of the input. And then I'm going to jump back to our editor here. In the JavaScript file, preview.js, that's then getting identified by name, and then the value of it is getting pulled in to apply to a particular element. Okay, let's jump back to the directory for our color files. The final file here is preview.png, and this is simply used for a background image for images inside of the preview. The only thing we need to complete the file structure for this particular example is the color.css file that's in Bartik. The reason for that is that that's the one file that gets churned through the tool that converts all of the default colors to our custom colors. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to the Bartik theme here, and then in the CSS folder, there will be a colors.css file. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And then I'm going to paste it into the CSS folder inside of the sites all themes bat overrides folder. In order to get our colors.css file recognized, we also need to add an item inside of our info file. So go ahead and open up the bat overrides.info file. And you should have an item here adding local.css to the style sheets. What we're going to do is simply copy this line and paste it, and we're going to change the name to css/colors.css, and then we're going to save it. This will register our CSS file, but we still need to clear our theme registry in order for the override to take place. So I'm going to jump to the browser, and I'm going to go ahead and flush all of our caches. Okay. Now the colors.css file that's in our subtheme directory should be getting registered.